On this Tuesday night, the Prime Minister's new inner circle. The fresh faces and the familiar ones on the front bench.
For me, it's perfect.
We'll dissect the decisions and tell you who got shuffled out. Unplugged, why Honda Canada is putting its $15 billion electric vehicle project on hold, and the uncertainty hovering over the country's auto industry. Deepening desperation for Gaza's 2 million Palestinians. The danger as Israel issues a new warning to Hamas. Plus, just call him Iron Man.
Amazing feat, so good, and especially for a guy that's only 89 years old.
One Manitoba golfer's unforgettable triumphs in a single round.
Global National with Donna Friesen. Reporting tonight, Neetu Garcha.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. Prime Minister Mark Carney unveiled his new post-election front bench today. It's a smaller team with a mix of fresh and veteran names and a mix of women and men. Carney says it will be more focused than previous governments. There are key themes emerging with this cabinet and a newly created secondary group, fighting what the Prime Minister says are unfair U.S. tariffs and creating, quote, the strongest economy in the G7. Carney's inner circle features 28 cabinet ministers, supported by 10 secretaries of state. Many are first-time MPs. The PM says they will be strong and reliable partners coordinating with provinces, territories, and Indigenous peoples across Canada. Our Mackenzie Gray tells us who made the cut and who didn't.
It's Mark Carney's bid to try and turn the page on the Trudeau years.
Canadians elected us with a mandate for change. So there is a great deal of change in this cabinet by necessity.
A fresh cabinet including 24 new ministers.
The Honourable Dominic LeBlanc.
But the front bench still features a number of familiar faces. Dominic Blanc, now the top minister to deal with the Trump administration, in charge of Canada-U.S. trade. François-Philippe Champagne will continue as finance minister, but other key players have been shuffled. Anita Anand swaps the industry portfolio with Mélanie Joly to become the new foreign affairs minister. Gary Nandasangri takes over at public safety, shifting David McGuinty over to national defense.
We're going to deliver that mandate with a new team, purpose-built for this hinge moment in Canada's history.
New MPs heading into cabinet. Markham's Tim Hodgson, the previous chair of Hydro One in Ontario. He'll be the Energy and Natural Resources Minister. Former Nova Scotia Immigration Minister Lena Diab will take that job federally. And Gregor Robertson was handed the housing file, despite overseeing a 179% increase in house prices while he was the mayor of Vancouver.
I'm thrilled that he is in the new role because he brings the type of experience that we need to tackle some aspects of this problem.
Former journalist Evan Solomon will get the loosely defined artificial intelligence and digital innovation file. And for the first time, the Minister of Indigenous Services is an Indigenous woman. To make room for new faces, 11 former ministers are now out of cabinet, including Bill Blair, Jonathan Wilkinson, and Nate Erskine-Smith, who said it was impossible not to feel disrespected after being dumped as housing minister. The way it played out doesn't sit right. For the first time since 2019, the cabinet has representation from each province, Neetu, aided by the appointment of 10 junior cabinet ministers, styled as secretaries of state, who will be tasked with helping senior ministers with larger portfolios.
A lot to keep an eye on. Mackenzie Gray in Ottawa. Thanks. Our Ottawa Bureau Chief Mercedes Stephenson is with me now. Mercedes, why is Carney keeping so many key cabinet members from the Trudeau era?
Neetu, I've been speaking to senior Liberal sources, and they tell me that the big-name ministers who Prime Minister Mark Carney has kept on are people who the PM sees as tried and true. He believes they're capable of handling complex files quickly and without micromanaging from the Prime Minister's office, a model he's keen to bring to government versus the tight, centralized control of the Trudeau government. You'll also notice a lot of these ministers have experience dealing with Donald Trump's administration, and sources say they believe that Mr. Carney thinks these people are capable of continuing to build those connections. There is a lot the same, but there is still some recognition of the need for change we see here. Chrystia Freeland and Mélanie Joly are the prime examples. Chrystia Freeland kept in a file where she won't have contact with the Trump administration. Mélanie Joly moved to a file where she won't have contact with the Trump administration. Both basically were seen as irritants to Donald Trump. The continuity in senior cabinet still risks criticisms to draw parallels to Mr. Trudeau's government, but the question will be if Mark Mark Carney's approaches with things are enough and different enough with their policies to offset that.
Right. Carney is a first-time politician and prime minister. How do you think he'll manage the cabinet ministers with their varying levels of experience and all those personalities?
It's a tough thing, Neithu. Managing caucuses, many political leaders have found out, is one of the most important and difficult things that a leader has to do. Both Conservative and Liberal leaders have been taken down by their own party in recent years. Some of the folks in caucus who Mr. Carney will have to manage include former Defence Minister Bill Blair, who only ran on the idea that he was going back into defence to spend money there. Nate Erskine-Smith, who was brought in to essentially write the housing plan and then yanked out for Gregor Robertson, the former mayor of Vancouver, who is blamed for some of the issues with housing in Vancouver. And of course, there's some anger that some close confidants of Mr. Carney's got plum positions when qualified MPs didn't make the cut.
Yeah, some frustrations there, I'm sure. All right, Mercedes Stephenson in Ottawa. Thanks, Mercedes. And for more analysis of Mark Carney's new cabinet, you can listen to a special deep dive episode of the Global National podcast, available on most major streaming platforms. Conservative Party leader Pierre is used to attacking the Liberals under Justin Trudeau. Today, he was less combative and spoke about how he would support Prime Minister Carney's government.
The Conservatives will take our role of holding the government accountable seriously. When they're right, we'll stand with them. When they're wrong, we will oppose them. We hope the country succeeds. We want the nation to do well.
Poilievre lost his Ontario riding of Carleton in the federal election and will be running again in the Alberta riding of Battle River Crowfoot in an upcoming by-election. Elections Canada says it's gathering facts about a possible mail-in ballot error in a very close riding. Liberal MP Tatiana Auguste was declared the winner in Terrebonne, Quebec by just one vote. But a resident in that riding says her mail-in ballot for the Bloc Québécois candidate was returned. Elections Canada says it appears the postal code printed on the return envelope was wrong. Honda Canada says it's postponing a multi-billion-dollar investment for electric vehicles at its plant in Alliston, Ontario. It's a major setback for Canada's auto sector as the industry tries to navigate new tariffs from American President Donald Trump. Eric Sorensen looks at the challenges for automakers in this country.
A year ago, the future looked bright for electric vehicles in Canada when Honda and Ottawa announced a $15 billion battery plant and EV assembly facility. It's now on hold for 2 years.
The electric vehicle market growth has slowed down more than expected.
Honda says it will not affect current production of some 400,000 vehicles it manufactures in Alliston, Ontario. The province's premier didn't sound bullish, but he's counting on Honda maintaining operations here.
We'll just see how that moves forward, but we're very confident that we'll continue producing Honda vehicles here in Ontario.
But there are troubling signs. Honda also reports a 76% plunge in operating profits, saying it is bracing for the impact of U.S. tariffs. Honda was reportedly prepared to open a new Civic plant in Guadalajara, Mexico, but recent reports say it will now be built in Indiana instead. Is that a sign of what's to come? In southern Ontario, there are more than 100,000 automotive jobs, Honda in Alliston, plus Toyota, the largest car maker in the country. And the U.S. big three, GM, Ford, and Stellantis, all have major assembly plants here. The question is, will automotive companies expand in this country or, over time, shift more production to the United States? Stellantis is reducing production at its assembly plant in Windsor. GM is doing likewise at its plant in Oshawa. Auto workers in both cities blame U.S. tariffs.
This is a government that, of course, we have to address and come to a new arrangement with the Americans.
The reality facing the new Carney government, a Canadian auto industry that can no longer count on its old trading partner.
We can't afford to lose this sector because it would be a real hit to the economy, and so we need to figure out ways that we're going to be able to preserve it and move it forward regardless.
In Alliston, there's relief that current production at Honda is unchanging.
And we look very much to keep on having that relationship, and we'll work very hard to keep it.
But for the mayor, there is uneasiness over the pause in electric vehicles and over what might happen to traditional manufacturing long term. Eric Sorensen, Global News, Toronto.
Nissan is making major cuts to its workforce. The Japanese automaker says it's slashing 11,000 jobs globally and shutting down 7 factories. Since November, Nissan has laid off about 20,000 people, or 15% of its workforce. The job cuts are happening just a few months after merger talks with Honda fell apart. In Manitoba, several communities are being forced to flee as the province scrambles to contain wildfires fueled by tinder-dry conditions. At least 20 fires are currently burning in the province. 4 are out of control, with southeastern Manitoba being the hardest hit. Officials have declared local states of emergency in at least 4 provincial parks in the region. East of Winnipeg, the charred remains of dozens of vehicles are all that's left after a fast-moving grass fire damaged at least 2 businesses yesterday afternoon. The last legal defense team in the sexual assault trial of 5 former World Junior champions took its turn cross-examining the woman at the center of the allegations. Lawyers zeroed in on the complainant's knowledge of the Team Canada players and her recollection of the events on that night in June of 2018. Nathaniel Dove was in the courtroom for us today. Nathaniel?
Neetu, the complainant in the Team Canada World Junior sex assault trial, testifying Tuesday for an 8th straight day. The player's lawyer questioned her about her memory, her level of intoxication, and whether she had an agenda. It was the turn of Cal Foote's lawyer. He, along with Alex Fermenton, Michael McLeod, Dylan Dubé, and Carter Hart, have been accused of sexual assault. They have all pleaded not guilty. Global News can only identify the complainant as EM. Foote's lawyer focused on alleged discrepancies between the complainant's initial police report in 2018, in which she referred to the players as boys. Counsel Juliana Greenspan stating, having gone through all of the replete references of boy and not one single use of man, in complete opposite of what you've done at this trial, is that the reason why you've carefully changed your language is because you have come into this trial with a clear agenda. Isn't that right? EM responded, no, absolutely not. I'm older, I understand more, they were men. Defense also showed several security camera videos taken from the bar the night of the alleged crimes, showing EM having several conversations with a bouncer. EM stated she was very drunk. Foote's lawyer suggested if she was, the bouncer, a friend of EM's, would have helped her. It wasn't necessary to assist the completely out-of-her-mind drunk person who was on the premises of the building in a place where he was employed. That's your evidence, the lawyer asked. No, EM answered. I know I looked drunk in that video. Was I drunk enough for him to feel the need to kick me out? I don't think so, but I know myself, and I know I was really drunk in that video. EM has maintained throughout proceedings that she does not remember large portions of the night because she was drunk. Foote's lawyer Greenspan finished her questions Tuesday, which brings to a close cross-examination. On Wednesday, Crown will have the chance to ask any clarifying questions it may have. Neetu?
All right, Nathaniel Dove in London, Ontario. Thanks. The former girlfriend of Sean Diddy Combs took the witness stand at his sex trafficking trial today, and a warning some of the details are graphic. Cassie Ventura is considered a star witness for the prosecution. She testified she was injured in multiple beatings by Combs. The music mogul is accused of forcing women to participate in drug-fueled sex parties that became known as freak-offs. Ventura broke down as she spoke, calling them highly choreographed events that happened almost weekly. Combs has pleaded not guilty to charges including racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. He could face up to life in prison. The U.S. president's first foreign trip of his second term. Coming up, the conflict of interest concerns and the criticism from his own MAGA supporters. U.S. President Donald Trump landed in Saudi Arabia today for the first of 3 stops in a whirlwind visit of Gulf countries. Trump was welcomed by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. He was also greeted by dozens of Saudi representatives who lined up for a marathon handshake session with the U.S. president. The optics offer a friendlier tone for a trip aimed at shoring up investment from the region. But as Jackson Prosco reports, even some of Trump's staunchest supporters are questioning his tactics.
Just hours after his arrival, U.S. President Donald Trump signed a $600 billion investment deal with Saudi Arabia, touching off a high-rolling, high-stakes trip that will also take him to Qatar and the United Arab Emirates. with major American business leaders, including Elon Musk, along for the ride.
As you know, we have the biggest business leaders in the world here today. They're going to walk away with a lot of checks for a lot of things that you're going to provide.
But it's the unofficial deals that are raising concerns about conflicts of interest in a region where the Trump family has earned millions from private business ventures. There are already 2 planned Trump towers in Saudi Arabia, and soon a new Trump golf course in Qatar, a country which is gifting Trump a $400 million luxury aircraft to replace Air Force One.
I could be a stupid person and say, no, we don't want a free, very expensive airplane. But I thought it was a great gesture.
The conflicts of interest that Donald Trump has, particularly with these countries that he's going to visit in the Middle East, are multifaceted. We've just never seen anything like this, and it's a kind of brazen behavior that appears on its face corrupt.
Back in the U.S., the jet deal and Trump's coziness with the Qataris,
this kind of skeezy stuff needs to stop.
Has the president taking friendly fire from his own MAGA supporters.
That's not America first. Like, please define America first in a way that says you should take sacks of cash from the Qatari royals who are behind Al Jazeera.
Well, thank you very much.
Trump isn't swayed by the concerns and is pressing on with his overseas deal-making, eyeing agreements for AI computer chips and critical minerals in the days ahead. Jackson Prosco, Global News, Washington.
Israel threatens another major escalation in Gaza. We'll hear from residents in Gaza as the blockade enters its 11th week. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is sending a forceful warning to Hamas. In a statement released by his office, Netanyahu says there is, quote, no way Israel is ending its war in Gaza, even if the remaining hostages are released. He says the IDF will enter Gaza with full force in the coming days and says completing the mission means destroying Hamas. Israel does not allow foreign journalists inside Gaza, so Global News has been working with freelance journalists to tell the stories of people trying to live in the highly volatile and dangerous environment. Redmond Shannon reports.
Walking and waiting for food. Now the daily routine for so many of all ages, as Gaza enters its 11th week under full Israeli blockade. The United Nations says more than half of Gaza's 2 million people now live under food emergency or famine conditions. Hunger that is etched on these faces in Al-Mawasi. Yamin lives in nearby Khan-Yunis with her 5 children. She says she has rice and lentils for 2 more days. After that, she's not sure what she'll do.
We can expect in the coming weeks, if no aid is coming in, that people will not just die because of the bombardment, but they will die because of the lack of food.
The head of the United Nations Relief Agency for Palestinians says Israel is using food as a weapon of war. Last month, Israeli ministers said the blockade is their main pressure lever against Hamas. At Al Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis, staff do what they can for malnourished babies as they struggle with diminishing medical supplies. On Tuesday, its emergency department received the injured from an Israeli strike at another hospital in the city. These craters just outside the European hospital, which was evacuated after the strikes. This man says the missiles hit without warning. Reports citing Israeli officials say the attack targeted Hamas military commander Mohammed Sinwar. He is the brother of former Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, killed by Israel in Gaza last year. Mohammed Sinwar's condition is unknown. Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
Round of a lifetime. Next, how lightning struck twice for a longtime Manitoba golfer. Hitting a hole-in-one is already hard enough, so imagine doing it twice in the same round of golf. That's what happened in Manitoba, where a man who's been golfing for most of his life hit 2 shots of a lifetime. Marnie Blunt joined him on the course this morning.
This is what Hank Plouf's Monday through Friday looks like. Okay, I'll watch you, Brian.
On the course 5 days a week at the age of 89.
Good shot, Brian. Down the middle. The enjoyment of friendship with the people that you play with, you know, it's a game, so, you know, there's fun in it.
Friendship is what drew him to the sport 57 years ago, and the reason why the game of golf is close to his heart.
Well, friends of mine, I had a very good friend who was a very good golfer. He passed away on the golf course in Pinawa. He was my best friend, and he started me into golfing, and from then on it kept on going.
Despite decades on the links, Plouffe still experiences firsts, including recently while playing in Netley Creek, north of Winnipeg.
I hit the ball and I didn't look up. And he says, "Gosh, that looks like it's going in the hole." I said, "Yeah, right."
Then the unthinkable happened, not once, but twice.
Hit the ball, and this time I looked up. Sure enough, it hit the green and curved in right into the hole. I said, "I can't believe this happening." 2 hole-in-ones in one round. It's unbelievable.
The odds of it, about 67 million to 1.
Well, I wasn't that surprised. He's a good golfer, so amazing feat. So good, and especially for a guy that's only 89 years old.
Sand? Yeah, I think it's in the sand.
And while Plouffe credits some things to a stroke of luck, his mindset and staying active aren't one of them.
Everybody's going to have bad shots. Everybody's going to have a decent shot. Remember the good ones. The bad ones, well, just, you know, put up with them and forget it.
Words of advice on the course and in life. Marnie Blunt, Global News, Rosser, Manitoba.
That is great advice. That is Global National for this Tuesday. I'm Neetu Garcha. Tonight's Your Canada showcases Montreal, Paris, Ontario, and Carrot Mountain near West Kelowna, BC. Keep them coming. Send your pictures of Canadian pride to Global National at globalnews.ca. Thanks for watching and hope you'll join us again tomorrow. Have a great night.